Hello, everybody. So we're here today with Dr. Sabina DeVita, an amazing soul with so much knowledge that we can all take so much advantage of. And she's here today to tell us a little bit about herself and how she's going to be able to help us in Lightworkers app to bring more knowledge and more light to everyone in the group. Dr. Sabina, please go ahead and introduce yourself to our members and give us a little mini bio about yourself so we can get to know you a little bit better.
Oh, well, thank you, Nima. This is such a pleasure to be here with you. It's a great honor to certainly share with more and more people. It certainly has been my heart's desire to do that ever since I discovered my own illness, going back many, it's actually 30 plus years ago.
Wow.
It is really quite a wow when I think back. And because I know that you were asking me to talk a little bit about certainly my journey. That led to a lot of what I do in terms of my bio, a lot of my, I guess, credentials. But I really would like to go back first to the journey and how that all came to be in terms of where I am today. And it really did happen about, I would say, about 30 years ago. I was a teacher, I was an educator, and I started to develop allergies and sensitivities to just, I guess, the typical sensitive, anyone who has allergies would certainly appreciate and understand. But it was to certainly common things, but I didn't know the extent of my sensitivities until it became more and more severe. And one of the triggers that happened for me was getting my allergy shots.
Oh, wow.
Yes, and it was very typical for people with allergies at that time, and still is today, to get allergy shots. So of course I did the typical thing and started the program. Well, what I discovered, which was again another, I would say, almost a year and a half to 2 year journey, was that I was reacting to the allergy serum as it was supposed to correct the allergy. I was also reacting to what it was made from.
Oh my gosh.
Okay. And so because it is a chemical, because it is so-called drug, and drugs have chemicals in them. In particular, what I was extremely sensitive to, which I had no idea, was the phenol preservative that is used in all kinds of medications.
Mm.
Okay. And it was my number one allergen. I ended up going to a specialist who, up here at that time, that just opened in the area of clinical ecology, which was environmental understandings and testing. So I ended up seeking him at that time. And of course, what happened was my discovery of this really drastic reaction to the phenol compound. And so no wonder I would swell up. I mean, my arm would be twice or three times the size.
Oh my God.
Move. And it would literally knock me out. If I was driving and I just had the shot, I couldn't drive. I would just go to sleep. And that sometimes would be up to 2 to 3 hours. So one day when I was teaching and I came into the office, at that point, I was a guidance counselor, kind of keep it short, but what happened was I had to sleep. It was the next day after my shot, and I was gone for 3 hours. And my principal knew that there was something serious. So that really helped. And even though I didn't see it at the time, but it did help me to ask the question, is this the way to my health? Is this really going to be the journey of my life? And is this the way I'm going to continue to live? Well, obviously, the answers started coming through very clearly. No, you must seek another way.
That's usually a turning point for a lot of people that they have to get there
Exactly.
in order to make some changes.
So it was at that point that I started to seek out a naturopathic journey or protocol. And even then, it wasn't the full answer because the naturopath, of course, was not as involved with the subtle sensitivities, which I also discovered I was or had experienced or was experiencing at that time. So that also then opened the door to seeking another professional, and that was in the area of clinical ecology or environmental sciences.
Okay.
So seeking and sourcing someone who is really immersed into the environmental contaminants. And what I discovered, Nima, was that I had so many sensitivities to what was around me, the off-gassing from the carpets, from the curtains, from the couch,
Wow.
in my home. So literally, I had to do a cleanup in my home and get rid of a tremendous amount of not only furnishings, but I had to change the way my heating was. Because up here in Canada, of course, we have, during winter months, we have a furnace and we have heat. And most of the heating systems are run by gas furnaces.
Mm.
Well, in order to detect gas, they use a phenol compound. And guess what? Remember, I shared with you that I was allergic.
The fetal compound.
The phenol compound used in the preservative, as a preservative in these shots. So I couldn't live in a house that was heated by this type of furnace. So it was a huge challenge, huge. And the reason I'm even sharing some of these details is to the extent that people can have these types of sensitivities. They're environmental sensitivities. And most often people have no clue. They wouldn't think that they could be allergic to what's coming off their furnace.
Yes, and I understandably I experienced it myself, and I was allergic to so many different things that I started creating I started having palpitations. But after working and understanding what I was allergic to, that was such a powerful move in my journey of wellness and health.
Exactly, exactly. And then mold sensitivities. What was going on around in washrooms and kitchens are usually the two key places. And I discovered that in the kitchen, we had a leak and it was in behind the wall.
Oh my goodness.
And every time I went into the kitchen, right, after, just within, say, a half hour, I started to react, and that made it worse to the foods, obviously, because then I became allergic to a whole host of foods. And my range, I would say my range, it was, I don't know if you can see my hands, but it was very narrow in terms of what I could eat.
Mm-hmm.
And so I knew that I really had to source a whole other way besides naturopathy, besides the clinical ecology. I knew I had to go another step. And that led me into energy medicine.
Interesting. Okay. Love to hear about that.
And it also led me, so half of my journey was the nutritional component, changing of course, my diet, getting all organic foods, etc. But there was this other 50% that was due to energy. And
so what was your educational background at the time while you were doing this research for your allergies?
Well, at that point, I began my journey into my doctoral work in the area of brain allergies. Okay. Before I went into the energy component, I did start my journey with, I went back actually to the university, part-time teaching, and I really wanted to understand more of my own journey, my own really situation. I knew that there was a body-mind component to begin with as a counselor. I was doing counseling at the time as well. So I started my doctoral work, and my dissertation is in the area of brain allergies. Very nice. Understanding the phenomenon and its psychological implications. So that was the big piece. That also was my personal journey.
Life just brings us to the right path and the right type of research at the right.
Yes, absolutely. And so what I, of course, gained out of that was a tremendous part to my own wellness, because it was the discovery that the body, the mind, the spirit, the environment, all are connected.
Fascinating. So powerful.
Right. So it took a little convincing for my professors at the time, that in the area of psychology, that food, environment were all part of what's going on to the mental health of an individual. Okay, so, and that was huge for them, because in the area of psychology, it still is very much separated. You know, it's like this part of us is almost disconnected, which is how it's viewed, to
Mhm.
what you're eating or what we're being exposed to.
Yeah, and that's
So
so powerful to connect what we're eating to our psychology and our mind and our wellness. So powerful.
exactly. So in convincing them that by eating certain foods could literally change a mood, right?
That makes
And
sense.
now, as a psychologist, to be discussing with that particular individual about his or her mood without looking at what they're eating is dysfunctional. It doesn't make sense. It really doesn't. And so I really did establish myself. It was pioneer work at the time at the University of Toronto here in Canada. And I did actually have a number of the professors who were on my board, because that's how it works as doing a doctoral degree. That they actually were so fascinated that two of them ended up being clients of mine later on. so,
That's so powerful. That's awesome.
so that it really was delightful, and so that in and of itself opened up to the area. As I was doing that research, I also delved into who we are as energy beings.
Mm.
And so that I discovered about our meridian system and energy pathways and the energy centers as the chakras, and discovering that they were not in the correct order, or my meridians were going in various directions, meaning they were reversed in terms of their of a particular flow within that system.
Mm.
So it literally led to more and more, I would say, courses in the area of energy and energy systems and who we are. And that myself, in correcting me, allowed me to write about it.
So fascinating. And I remember I met you in 2016 in Russia, and that's when you had published your book, and you were talking about it to me, and it was such an amazing book to read, and it gave me so much information about how to deal with essential oils and our wellness. So that was very, very powerful.
Well, and that yes, that book was called, well, it still is, Vibrational Cleaning, and specifically too with that piece of work was the area of the discovery of oils, essential oils in my life, and how I was able to use them, because they're energies. They're energy. I call them photon therapy. They're actually, that's what it is. It's captured light.
Mm. Everything is light, right?
Exactly. And so, as I pick up a bottle, it's captured light in this bottle. That's this photon. That's where it comes from, the plant. And so I discovered that by using certain oils, I was able to do more, and it strengthened my systems, certain like my liver. My brain in particular was key. And so I used specific oils for the brain specifically, and for liver and detoxing. Okay, it was all part of a package. I'm just kind of giving a little bit here and there with it. But what ended up also taking place was, as a result, was the writing of many books. Vibrational Cleaning was one of them.
Okay.
And that book basically was, I would say, a summary of some of the research, what is happening in the area of these contaminants in household products, such as dishwashing detergents, um, hand soaps, shampoo, toothpaste, any of those things. Start reading labels, you'll be surprised. I couldn't use
So,
any of them.
and once you told me that, and I started paying attention to what's actually included in the toothpaste and our, things that we use on a day-to-day basis, and little bit by little bit, they will start to influence us negatively. And it's just so
Exactly.
powerful to have awareness on, these little things that we can change. And throughout the course of a month, we can bring so much wellness to ourselves instead of depleting our energies.
Exactly, exactly. And so I ended up, of course, making those changes for myself. I found that I could use certain oils for cleaning, lemon oil, had umpteen uses for cleaning, but it could also be used for a sore throat. Okay, so it just really, I just felt so excited with the discovery, right? And it had to be really pure, absolutely organic, clean, sustainable. That's really more, I would say, the key words here: clean, sustainable sources, which I discovered.
And that's, I feel like a lot of people have issues with that because there's so many oils out in the market that people don't really know which one they can, trust and focus on. So,
right. And which ones we can take internally.
absolutely.
And with Young Living, we can, and we do, and I do. And so that became a big piece of my journey as I continued utilizing them, seeing the results. I went into private practice after I completed my doctoral work. I had a number of requests from individuals, just even other students who said, "Can I come and see you? You seem to have a lot of knowledge in environmental sensitivities." And so I was able to then assist many, many people. And I opened up a part-time private practice, and that became full-time. All through referral. All through referral. And at that time, I became extremely involved with kinesiology muscle testing.
Okay.
And through muscle testing was able to discern and detect very, I would say, hidden, subtle types of sensitivities that a person had no idea about, even to water.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Yeah.
Even to water. That's powerful.
It is very powerful. And I had ways to correct certain systems because that's, of course, when I delved into energy work. And I probably studied about 10 different kinesiology at that time systems: Touch for Health, Brain Gym, 3-in-1. I mean, those were just so many different systems. And I took to it like a duck to water. And as a result, I continually added and integrated these systems, and with the essential oil component, and then continued to do more writing. So another one of my books was on electromagnetic pollution.
Okay.
At the time,
essential oils, and you said that you did your research to find the most pure essential oils, and then you talked about Young Living. So is
yes,
that oil that you found that was the purest form that you could use for your practice?
Absolutely, absolutely. I was so determined to actually make sure that what I was using for me, because of my sensitivities, had to be 100%. So I went to the utmost degree of going to the farms.
Oh, wow. Okay.
And so I ended up meeting at that time the founder, D. Gary Young, and what a blessing. I actually had a radio show that I did, and I had him on my show.
Nice.
It is nice. And at that point, I was truly searching. And what was so amazing for me, Nima, and most people don't know this, but a lot of companies who sell oils, you cannot visit their farms because they don't own their farms.
Okay.
Okay, they partner, or they're actually just buying from a source of, a farmer. So with Young Living, what I discovered was that we owned many of our farms.
Oh, that's fascinating.
And so I went to visit the first farm, our lavender farm. And as a result, of course, I established a relationship with both the founder and his wife. And this is going back to 20 something years ago.
Oh, my goodness. Okay.
Right. So, and at that time, D. Gary Young had only about 3 farms. And today we have over 11 to 15 and another 5 or so that are co-partner farms.
Oh, wow. That's awesome.
All over the world. Okay,
and they put their farm, from my understanding, in certain areas so that it mimics the natural habitat for the plants, right?
Correct.
To have the
And they're all sustainable farms, meaning that anytime a tree is cut, and we as distributor members actually were invited to go back and plant.
Okay.
So I've been to Croatia, for example, and I planted helichrysum.
That's awesome.
So what an experience. I've been to France where we planted helped to plant lavender as well as seeing the harvest, right? Had the,
A lot of fun.
it's, I mean, where else can you get that experience? There isn't another
There
company that
isn't.
does
Yeah,
that.
I haven't heard of that.
We've been up to, for example, our Northern Lights black spruce, which by the way happens to be the highest frequency because these oils were measured. But what was fascinating was the joy to actually visit that farm up in northern, actually it is in the northern part of BC in Fort Nelson, and to see and visit our own farm. Okay, and see these massive trees and what they do for us. Okay, they're very shamanic, by the way.
Oh, I can't wait to visit one of those farms.
You know, it's you will thoroughly enjoy it. We have a huge farm in Ecuador.
Mm.
We were there a year and a half ago. Well, almost 2 years ago, I guess. What an experience. Okay, because it's our own farm. And you get to see the harvest, you get to see the plants, you get to see the trees and, you know, everything about it. And of course, walk away with your bottle.
You gotta have that, right?
Exactly. So that became a huge and a very major part of my world. And at that point, I was really more interested to use these oils for myself and within my own, I would say, my own family. And as a result, because of my own experiences, I started to introduce it into my clinic and with my clients. And because of I would say, the dramatic shift in a very short period of time with my clients, and they felt it so dramatically. I noticed it and they felt it. They wanted the oils.
I bet.
So that just started naturally to just, okay, well, this is how to get them. And it was much more complicated back 20 something years ago. So with that, I continued, and then I became involved with, back in the year of about 99, 2000, became involved with a technology that you know very well. It was called the gas discharge visualization technique. Camera.
Technology.
GDV. And both my husband and I were so fascinated with it. And I felt strongly that this would be a great addition to what I was doing on a body level, physical level, of course, and mind, mental, and spiritual and emotional on all of those levels. And being able to see, track it, and of course, giving solutions. So I became quite involved with, we went to Russia that year. We also had Dr. Korotkov come to Canada the following year in 2001. And we did a class here in Canada, Toronto. And then following that, we, of course, proceeded with more trips to Russia. I must have, I would say about 6, maybe to 7 trips.
Oh, wow. That was pretty intense. I thought the one time I was there was the time you came down.
No, we've been there many times. And I presented. I was asked to present each time. I of course, attended one of the conferences. And I did present one of my most famous cases at that time of a capture of an individual who had gone through an abortion, and what showed up on the camera. You know, how I used oils for the healing of that individual. But it was fascinating. It was fascinating. And so I'm just giving you some of these areas that meant so much for me on my journey.
Yes, and that's so powerful. And I thank you for sharing that. Now, I want to know for our members, at what point in your journey did you know that you would be successful in doing what you're doing and you're going to be able to help a lot of people?
I felt that at the time I was leaving the university and opened up a small practice and the professors themselves asking me, I'd like your advice. And people, students, other students, who also said the same, I knew that what I was offering was unique, was special, was certainly rare, and very helpful. I knew then that this was going to be successful.
And Dr. Sabina, how do you define success?
I define it as a reaching and experiencing one's heart's desires of service to others.
Ah, so beautifully put. That was beautiful. I couldn't agree more.
Is my certainly success for me.
Ah, that's so powerful.
So the more people that I can be of service to, it's another level of success.
Ah, and what a beautiful level of success that nothing can match this vibration.
Yes,
so,
thank you.
what's your most important skill, you think, at this point that is giving you that edge to be able to really help a lot of people?
The key word that comes up for me, and certainly has been feedback that I've received, is the way that I have integrated many disciplines and modalities. And so it's like I wear different hats. And so someone can come to me with a specific concern, say it's a stomach problem. And I have many different ways I can go with that. I'm just giving you an example. So integration. Yes, of material, of modalities, of disciplines.
And that's what everybody talks about today is integrative medicine, so that we can really treat people in a holistic way rather than just look at something from one point of view.
Exactly. Exactly.
Dr. Sabina, what would you want to share with our members today? Something that they can learn from you, that they can use in their own daily lives, that would help them become better people or help other people. Do you have anything that you want to share with our members?
I do. I mean, obviously there's so many learnings that I have had along the way. And one at this point, I think that's so critical is really truly understanding who we are as spiritual beings and beings of light. And what does that really truly mean? Number one. And secondly, how do we now literally move through this mire, the chaos, the fear, the amount of, I would say, pressure and tension and stress, even anxiety that many in the world are experiencing. And the secret is go within to your heart. Just taking a deep breath and just letting everything else go and just hearing my words for what they are and just picturing your heart and just feeling what's there, acknowledging your heart and being thankful, being here in this moment, just to experience that moment, this moment of pure thankfulness. And that awareness of the thankfulness.
So powerful, so powerful.
Because gratitude, Nima, is the antidote to fear.
Oh my God. If we wake up every morning and we have a gratitude session for ourselves and we can bring everything that's amazing in our life and just to think about that, I feel like that would become the most powerful antidote that we can have.
Absolutely. And of course, I love adding a specific smell, aroma, or fragrance with it. And we have many to choose from. And I have my favorites. And I love to actually add it, say on my hands and just inhale. Or sometimes I'll spritz it around me and then just feel that moment of gratitude. And as I do that, and the reason I also love to use the plant essences, because it reminds me of Mother Nature. As I inhale the spirit of that plant. And so as I do that, I just go into even deeper thankfulness and gratitude. It's just automatic. And so that to me is a treasure.
That is a treasure. And, they say once we're in nature, we're closer to source.
Correct.
So if we don't have a chance to be in the nature at the moment, what better than the essence of the nature so we can connect to it?
Exactly. And the plants, I mean, this goes into my teaching now in the area of aromas, because they do have a consciousness. And so what we actually are really, again, it's an integration. It's actually an absorption with that, that camaraderie, if you will, with plants and
I know that you have come up with your own techniques as far as the application of essential oils in order to, bring the most amount of coherence and energy to the energetic body. And I can't wait to, have the tribe for aromatherapy so we can share some of your knowledge there so that other practitioners can learn how.
Nima, absolutely. And I think you will delight with this as well. I have done many measurements using the GDV before and after. And the change with what takes place is so dramatic. It is so dramatic.
And you have also worked with Dr. Ibrahim Karim also with bio.
Correct. Absolutely. And Dr. Korotkov. We actually did some work in the area of essential oils where he did some testing. And even the development of the Viva line.
Yes, the Viva line. I want you to tell us a little bit about what Viva.
Well, and we worked directly with Dr. Gary Young, D. Gary Young at the time, and also Korotkov. He actually came over to the US and we met and worked and discussed in bringing all of that together. So, and again,
what does the Viva line do? Give us a little bit
well, it does very similar to the GDV in what it measures, of course, with the biofield and being able to see the chakras and those particular systems. And the difference here, and it does have the biorhythm chart. Okay, so it does have a number of different aspects to the stress indicator. It's all part of that. What's different is the merging or giving a report with the associated essential oil for that system. So for example, with the chakra system, because that's the real one, I mean, the major one that these oils are associated to, it will give you a list of those oils.
So based on the alignment of your chakras or your energy centers, the software will generate a recommendation for different oils?
Correct.
Oh, that's awesome.
And usually the first one that shows up is probably the most significant and primary one. And because sometimes there may be 6, 8 recommendations. And it's just a matter of discerning. But usually the very top are the ones to obviously use. What I also find fascinating for many individuals with the oils that do show up, when people do investigate what that particular oil can do, it's mind-blowing because of all of
so powerful, and there's they contain so many different types of frequencies within them that it's just
correct.
No way it can influence us. Dr. Sabina,
and the way they speak to the subconscious, and that's particularly extremely important, because a lot of times an oil will pop up and the person may not recognize or have any relationship, say, particularly to that specific oil or blend, if they do know names of oils. But what's most important, what's going on at the subconscious level? Because as you know, 90 to 95% of what we are doing with the GDV is really showcasing what's going on at those levels.
Absolutely. So thank you so much for being here with us today. I know there's so much we can talk to you about, and I would love to have you back with us to share more knowledge based on what you're doing and keep us informed about your research. And I want to thank you again for being with us here today and sharing your amazing story with our members. And we can't wait to learn more about you and introduce your books and your courses in our apps so that everybody can take advantage of your knowledge.
You're welcome. Thank you for having me on your show.
Pleasure to have you.